to What's Cooking New Ulm. I'm Rebecca Fliszar, the dietitian with the Hearts Beat Back Heart of New Ulm project, working to reduce and eventually eliminate heart attacks in the 56073 zip code. Well, today we have a wonderful recipe that we're going to be making, and we have two great guests with us today, John Holmquist and Alma Marin. Now, John has been one of our casting call members, and we've been following him over the past year. So we're going to visit with him a little bit about some of the changes he's made and how he's become more heart healthy in the past year. And our main chef is going to be Alma, and she's going to walk us through a great recipe. So, Alma, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're making and the ingredients you'll be using today?
Okay. This is one of my family's favorite recipe. They love Oriental food, so this is a variation on Pai Thai chicken. It involves chicken breasts and peanut butter and some spices.
Okay.
It's pretty good, and usually I serve it with rice and potatoes.
Good. Now, we have eliminated the potatoes for tonight to cut down on some of our carbohydrate intake, and we're using a brown rice. We had originally looked at long grain rice, but our sodium content was high. As we're watching that, keeping that under that 2,000 milligrams per day, we're switching to the brown rice, which is going to be very low in sodium. So we have some very unique ingredients. John's over there working on the cilantro. John, you want to tell us a little bit about what you're doing?
Yeah, first of all, I'm doing something which is commensurate with my skill level, which is just peeling the leaves off the fresh cilantro. You can also use dried, and that will work perfectly well as well, but we prefer the fresh. It takes a little bit more time.
Yeah, you sure can smell that too. And cilantro's got a very distinctive taste. I've said in the past too, if you're cooking with cilantro, it is going to be one of your stronger flavors. If you don't like cilantro or haven't tried it in the past, be sure you try it first before adding it into your recipe. It is very high in nutrients, falls in our parsley group. Remember, it's going to have that extra calcium and really give your recipe a nice kick. But do try it first. All right, Alma, what are you working on here?
Right now, I'm preparing the ingredients that I'm going to use for the sauce.
Okay.
These are green onions or scallions.
Right.
And then I'm going to mix them. And that's the great thing about this recipe is you can do it ahead of time, because it is better if you leave it marinating in the refrigerator, anything from 2 hours to overnight.
All right.
The other good thing is that once you get everything ready, it's ready in 20 minutes.
Okay.
In the oven.
Great.
And you not only can you use it as a main dish, but you can also use it for appetizers.
Oh, great.
Because what I do is I put it on skewers.
Okay.
And when we put them in the oven, you see what I like those skewers. You turn them, and it's very easy to turn.
Okay, all right. It helps regulate our portion size as well. So, if you are on a lower calorie intake, or you're trying to watch anything that's going to affect your heart health, you can really regulate portion size with these as well. So remember, your green onions are going to have a much different flavor than your white, yellow, or red. They are still of the same family. They're going to have that little bit of kick as well. So you're starting to see that this recipe has a lot of different flavors in it. And as Alma said, the longer you let this marinate, you're going to get that more flavor in there. So be aware of that as well. All right.
And that pungent flavor actually also helps with control of weight, because you simply don't eat as much.
That's right. That's right. That's very true. That is one of the reasons why herbs and spices are so helpful. You get a lot more flavor, and you don't need quite as much portion size. So good. Very good.
One thing you'll notice is that Alma's using a low sodium soy sauce.
Right.
And most of the things that we do, we don't watch our sodium carefully, but neither of us have a real taste for salt. So most of the things, the chicken broth that she's going to use and the sodium and the soy sauce that she's going to use are low sodium.
Great. And from Alma's original recipe, we did cut down on the soy sauce a little bit. And as we find with many recipes, if we follow our standard, they taste great, and that's the way we like them. But by reducing that soy sauce a little bit, we found that the flavor is still great. It's a wonderful recipe, and we can cut down on that sodium as well. Well, while Alma's cooking here a little bit, John, tell us a little bit about what you've done over the past year to become heart healthy. Where did you start, and where do you find yourself today?
Well, the start for me was that I ended up weighing 235 pounds.
Okay.
That was my aha moment. And this was a couple of years ago, and I decided that I needed to change that. My blood pressure was up, and the blood chemistry was not good. I was sort of rehearsing for a heart attack, I guess you could say. And I'd started to exercise a while earlier, but a couple of years ago I just decided that was enough and I needed to become more healthy. So the first thing I did is I realized I needed to lose weight and I needed to change the way I ate, because I did not pay any attention to how I ate. I ate whatever I want in whatever quantities I want. So something that was very important for me was that I didn't want to have something that was a diet, in the sense that I've got to follow this strict thing and then you sort of yo-yo between following a very strict dietary regimen and then eating other things, because I couldn't stay with a regimen. So I needed to do something where I would simply change the way I eat.
Okay.
And so for me, the diet that worked well was the South Beach diet, because number one, the most important thing is I hate being hungry.
Right, right.
So it allowed me to eat pretty much unlimited quantities of vegetables and later on fruits, and that would also fill me up, but the caloric density was lower.
Great.
So I was always full. I was never hungry on this diet, but yet I simply started eating other things. So over time, between that and also working out, I used to be the kind of person that whenever I got the urge to exercise, I would lay down till it went away. And so what I found is that I needed to exercise, and I started incorporating strength training as well. And the wonderful benefit of that is that if there is a fountain of youth, it's exercise.
Right.
Physically, the capabilities that I've gained, my standard story is I was changing the gas still on my grill. We've got gas cylinder on my grill. And I used to have to use both hands to lug the thing, and my hands would hurt as I did this, and it was quite a chore. And the first summer after I started working out and incorporating strength training, I got the cylinder off the grill, took it into our local store, and as I was getting the other cylinder, I said, "Where is it?" And they said, "Oh, it's on the second shelf as you walk out the door." I walked out, grabbed the thing with my left hand, and got halfway to the car and thought, "Oh, that's right, this used to be heavy."
Wow, that's great.
So
that's great.
yeah, so it's wonderful. Those are the things that have worked. Blood pressure's down, blood chemistry is much better.
Great. And your weight today?
About 198.
Perfect. Wonderful. That's excellent. That's amazing that you've been able to make those positive changes. And weight isn't always our best measurement. Even though you have had a weight reduction, it's nice to hear that your chemistry panel is down, your cholesterol, and all of those things have come down too. So you are quite a success for the Heart of New Ulm.
Well, I feel so much better. It's you start enjoying the benefits of the working out, and that motivates you to stay with it. And as you lose the weight, it motivates you to stay with the food. And what I found is the food is absolutely delicious.
Great, great. Well, and that's true when you have a cook like Alma. She's working hard over here while we're visiting. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you put into this sauce here while we've been visiting John?
Before I finish, do you have a fork or
Sure.
a
whisk?
A whisk, yes.
We get one right there for you.
Thank you.
I don't know if that's
Great.
Yep, that's right.
That's fine.
So what have we all put in? I saw you used a rice vinegar, which is going to have a little bit of a distinct flavor from some of our other balsamic vinegars that we're maybe a little more familiar with. This is found in our Asian food sections. Sesame oil, again, going to have a very distinctive flavor. It's going to have about, it's going to still be those good fats. It's going to be high in poly and monounsaturated fat, and it's going to be not containing any of our saturated fat, so a good oil. What else? What do you have here?
I put some sesame oil. We did. Oh, this is wonderful. It's chili garlic sauce.
Okay.
It's a Vietnamese product, and this is hot.
Okay.
So if you don't like hot stuff, you can just put the garlic. This already has garlic, so I'm not going to put garlic. But if you don't want it hot, and you can regulate, you can put more or less. And like you said, we exchange half of the soy sauce for chicken broth, and you do need to make it a little bit watery so that the chicken absorbs the flavor.
Okay.
So here we are, and see, it is kind of thick. So I think we are going to put just a little bit more of chicken broth.
And the main piece that's thickening that up is we use some chunky peanut butter. So it's going to have the nuts in there as well as the peanut butter. Remember, peanuts, again, are going to be good in that good cholesterol. It's going to not contain any of our saturated fat. We're looking for those poly and monounsaturated fats. It's going to be very filling, very high in protein, and of course, it's also going to be very good in fiber. So all good things.
And the last two things that we're going to put in there are, oh, I forgot. The other thing that I like to put in there is black bean sauce.
Okay.
Now this black bean is pretty high on sodium.
So,
however, a little bit goes a long way.
okay.
So you can eliminate it, but a little bit really makes it taste better.
Now you'll notice that Alma just added in sesame seeds. Again, going to add great flavor and change your texture. If you look at the bag there, John, if you want to take a look at that bag that we, you know, when we think of adding so many different ingredients, how much did we pay for those? That was 59 cents. You don't need to make that big investment. We did learn that a few months ago when Gudam was here. We've been purchasing off our bulk spices, and that was a great way to go. So for 59 cents, we didn't have to have a lot of leftover sesame seeds. It's not something that you normally use in your recipe, so keep that in mind.
Yeah, the other thing is that all the ingredients that we're using are available here at the stores locally in New Ulm.
Good.
So this is, you do not have to travel anywhere, and it's not that exotic. You can find these in the ethnic food sections if they're not in the regular sections.
Okay.
And the last two things we're going to put in that sauce is
We put in our scallions.
we put the scallions. The last two things are the scallions so that they don't get too mushy, and the cilantro.
Okay.
And again, I love cilantro. I put cilantro in everything.
Yes.
So, but
As you mentioned, you are originally from Bolivia and have spent time in Mexico, right?
yeah, I lived in Mexico, but I've also lived in a lot of other countries.
Okay, and cilantro is really one of the staples in most Mexican dishes. So
Right.
cilantro is very, very common and is kind of the staple or the trademark of a Mexican dish. So, you know, cilantro is something that can go into, this one is actually Asian, but typical in Mexican foods as well. Definitely something you should give a try if you haven't had fresh cilantro before.
And as you mentioned, the taste is fairly strong. If you wanted to substitute parsley, you could. It would change the flavor.
Right, right.
But if that fit your taste more, you could do that.
And actually, you do use cilantro in both Indian and Oriental food too.
As well,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So we are just finishing doing the sauce,
Okay.
and then I am going to cut the chicken. And again, how you cut the chicken depends on what you're going to use it for. If you're going to use it for a meal, maybe you want to cut it a little bit thicker
Okay.
or bigger. And if you want to use it for hors d'oeuvres, you can cut it smaller. And the great thing, can you just keep going like that? And the great thing about this too is that you can, in the skewers, you can put vegetables too.
Okay.
One of the best vegetables for this recipe is red pepper.
Okay.
And you can put pieces in the skewers too, just like if you were
Great.
barbecuing. All kinds of colored peppers go well with that. Pretty much anything you want. You can experiment.
Great. Now, as we were talking to, as we were preparing to make this recipe, you'll notice that Alma used just one cutting board, and that's going to be fine. We don't have our issue of cross-contamination. Our sauce is going to be filled with the raw chicken anyway. So normally, I always try to remind you that if you're cutting vegetables, you want to use a separate cutting board. Because these are being mixed together, we don't have the concern of cross-contamination, and that's why we're able to use just one cutting board tonight.
Yeah, and they're also going to all go into the oven together.
Right.
To cook.
Yep, they're all going together, so that's great.
One of the things that I always do when I'm working with chicken though, especially if I'm going to skew it, is I do wear rubber gloves.
Rubber gloves?
Yes.
Or
Handling.
Or wash your hands often in
often.
between. Yes,
Yeah.
that's a great idea.
But even that, handling a raw chicken a lot is never a good idea.
Yeah, yeah.
So again, this one we're gonna let it sit there for a little bit, but you can let it sit for a couple of hours in the refrigerator, or you can overnight.
Okay. Okay.
And it does taste better the longer you marinate it.
Great.
So while this marinates, we are going to start the rice so that it goes in at the same time.
Okay.
And the way that I make rice is I soak it a little bit because, like I said, especially with brown rice, thank you, it cuts the time.
Okay.
And then once it's there, I am going to go over there in the sink for a minute, and I'm going to drain it.
All right. Well, while Alma does this with her rice and we start to prepare to put our chicken on our baking sheet, we're going to go ahead and check in with Holly and see what's new for Fit in 5.
Welcome to Fit in 5. Today we have Amanda Forstrom with us. Amanda is a physical therapist at the Sister Kenny Rehab Institute at the New Ulm Medical Center. Amanda, thanks for joining us today. It's nice to have you. You know, when I was a kid and all through my adolescence, my mom kept saying, stand up straight, sit up straight, stand up straight. It was really annoying. But she was really kind of onto something, wasn't she? Now, what is the importance of good posture?
Well, good posture helps us balance against the forces of gravity, which are trying to pull us down. And if we can do that, it more evenly distributes forces through our body so that no one structure is overly stressed. It can really help us to avoid overstress, overstrain injuries. It also can help us with facilitating breathing, so we can get a good deep breath in. And also by using energy better, we feel less fatigue through the day.
I would imagine, especially as we age, that it's really important to have good posture. Most of us, I would say, about 90% of us have absolutely terrible posture.
Well, I don't know if I'd say absolutely terrible posture all the time, but at times we definitely do. And that it's important as we age, because sometimes with aging, if we don't fight this, our muscles get weaker, and then it's harder to maintain that posture. And if we use bad posture over a long period of time, those changes can become permanent. We can have structural changes to our muscles and joints and ligaments that make it hard to correct that.
And it's not just standing, it's also sitting. So what are some of the muscles that are really involved with good posture and helping hold us upright?
It really starts with a base around our pelvis. We want our leg and hip muscles to be strong, and also our abdominals. And then working up our body, really the muscles up the backside of our body are important. They're the ones that are going to be fighting gravity.
Because I don't know if we think a lot of, your core has quite a bit to do with it. So if I'm at home, what can I do to help improve my posture?
If you're standing, a good thing to think about is pretend there's a string that's coming up out of the top of your head towards the ceiling, and that it's pulling you up, kind of like a marionette puppet. And just feel kind of light on your feet. Have your weight evenly distributed between both feet, but then also from the front to the back of our feet. That nice light on your feet feeling. And everything just kind of falls into place from there. Or you could also just roll your shoulders back a little bit. And it's not necessarily about keeping your body completely straight, rather just maintaining those natural curves in our back so that the muscles aren't overworking to keep us up straight.
Because I don't think a natural curve, that's not a natural curve at all. So we can actually do this fixing meals, watching TV. It's not necessarily anything that we have to hit the floor and do 100 crunches for, but just as we move through space, correct?
Yeah. And for sitting, we talked about standing, but for sitting, get yourself sitting down into the back of the seat that you're on, whether it's a couch or a chair. That way it's a lot harder to slouch, for one thing. You can use that surface to help hold you up. But then also not letting yourself slide out of there, and just keeping your shoulders back a little bit seems to do a lot.
Yeah, so if we look a little ergonomically, if you're at work, your desk height is also very important to help prevent slouching. Is it ever too late to help improve your posture?
No, definitely not. There's always things you can do. And actually a few exercises to work those trunk muscles that we mentioned really help, whether it's something like yoga or Pilates, or just some general strengthening exercises with our body weight to use the muscles on the back of our body.
Well, Amanda, thanks for joining us today. Very helpful information as always. And, well, hopefully with Amanda's tips, you can help maintain or build good posture. For today's Fit in 5, I'm Holly. Have a heart-healthy day.
All right, Holly, thanks for those great tips. Make sure we're all staying active, following Holly's tips, and finding any activity that you find enjoyable as well. Being sure that we're active throughout the winter months is important as Minnesotans. Summer, we do a great job, but winter's a bit of a challenge. All right, Alma, where are we at? What's next?
I am going to heat up a little bit of olive oil, about 1/4 cup. More or less, depending on whether you like it sticky or not too sticky.
Okay.
And once the olive oil is hot, we're going to fry the rice a little bit.
Okay.
I know with the white rice, you like to get it to the point where it's just sort of transparent.
Yeah.
Before she puts things in. With the brown rice, how would you know when the rice was ready?
I don't know. Boy, you have been paying attention to my cooking. I'm amazed.
Every now and then I like to surprise you.
But you're right. Yeah. It takes about 8 minutes, and now I need a spoon here. Oh, okay. One second. And the other, if you see, I saved some of the scallion too, to put in the rice too. So we are going to fry the rice and the scallions for a little bit, and then we're gonna add the chicken broth, and we're gonna bring the chicken broth to a boil, and once it's boiling, we're gonna put a cover and put it down to simmer and just leave it in there until it's done.
Okay.
So here's our
At what point,
chicken broth.
You also like to add some green peas.
Oh, thank you. The green peas. Yeah, I don't know how those taste with brown rice, but we can try that. Usually use white rice when I put the green peas.
Okay.
But we can just before you cover it, we'll put the
Peas
the
in
green
there.
peas.
Okay, that sounds good.
So
Is there a
let's do
cover
that.
down there for her, John?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, the skewers that I was going to use for the chicken are sitting in my kitchen, soaking.
Okay.
So what
ready
we're
to go
going
when
to
you
do?
get home.
Yeah, right. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put the pieces of chicken directly into the pan, and we're just going to put some of the red pepper to roast with it, along with it.
Okay.
So I think we are ready to put the broth in the chicken. Let me see, where's my spoon? And I do have to warn you, about 6 or 7 at night, my English gets worse and worse. So I might have to finish in Spanish.
That's okay. I can help you.
Yeah, and by cutting the chicken up this way, even if you don't put it on a skewer, again, it's almost like chicken tenders. So kids can actually eat it as finger food. We served it that way for hors d'oeuvres before dinner for people, just as a finger food.
Yeah. You know, as we were talking too, that kids are going to like this. It has that peanut butter in there. It has a lot of great flavor, and it is going to be heart healthy. So letting kids try a different variety of foods, exposing them to new flavors, will open up a whole new world for them to try and become more heart healthy as well. Through the Heart of New Ulm, we found that too, children are going to imitate that which their parents are eating. So, be good role models. Make sure you're offering healthy foods, and let them try a variety of things so that they too can be exposed to the great gift that food is. We can really take a lot of pleasure in what we eat and enjoy it. So, something that we need to realize and kind of get away from some of our chicken nuggets and other things that are staples for kids, mac and cheese. Find out what else is out there.
So while we wait for the chicken to boil, we are gonna start, for the rice to boil, we're gonna start putting the pieces of chicken in a flat sheet.
Okay. Now we did put a little bit of olive oil on here.
Yeah, we put a little bit of olive oil, although you remember there's a lot of oil in the chicken already. And we are just gonna lay the pieces of chicken in there, and like I said, this goes very well with any vegetable. Zucchini is very good.
Oh, okay.
Peppers. What else do we put with vegetables? Anything that you can put in the barbecue will taste good with this.
Yeah, we do a lot of different kinds of zucchini, yellow zucchini as well as the green zucchini.
Okay.
A lot of yellow peppers, orange peppers.
One of our new foods that we've introduced over the past year to many New Ulmites is jicama, which is the Mexican potato.
Yes.
And so that's something that would fit in here too. It's going to add a little bit of extra flavor. So in tribute to you, right, Alma?
Right. Yeah, jicama is best eaten raw though.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It has the same texture as a kohlrabi, that nice crisp flavor, and it's great when you eat that fresh. And you can see that through this is going to be a good quantity of food. It's going to make plenty of servings. It's going to be great for a larger family, or if you do have kids coming, it's a great meal for them as well.
I think maybe we can just leave it at that.
Okay.
And you can take that home and marinate it and see how it tastes tomorrow.
All right, I will definitely do that. Let my own kids try it. Huh?
All right. And we are ready to put the piece in the rice. Just a little bit. You don't have to put too many. And we are just going to take it down. We're going to put it down to simmer. See, is it well boiling? Yeah, I think it is boiling.
All right.
And is there a cover, something for that? No, that's a big cover.
We can maybe grab that pan up there and set it on top.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yep. That would work. And the trick to doing rice is don't pick. Just let it stay there for a while.
Perfect. That's a good fit.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. We're going to put it there. Okay. And we can put this in the oven. And what I do is I cook this at 400 degrees for 10 minutes. And in 10 minutes, I take it out. I turn it, I flip it. And if I have a lot of the marinade, I actually put stuff on top.
Okay.
Because it makes it crunchy, the peanut butter, and that's really good.
Yeah.
So now we have to wait 10 minutes.
All right. Well, we'll check back in with Alma in just 10 minutes. All right. Our 10 minutes have passed, and we're ready to wrap up this recipe. Okay, Alma, what do we do next?
We're just, it's all ready. We'll take it out from the oven. And I'm going to put it in here. Can we put it in there?
Yeah, you can put it right up there.
And there, rice, it's perfect.
Great.
Just great.
Yeah, these look delicious.
And voila.
So you can see that we're going to have lots of different variety. We have our vegetables in here. We have our protein in both our chicken and our peanut butter. And we have a lot of great ingredients. Our carbohydrates are in here as well. This is going to be delicious. And, you know, I kind of like it that it's not on the skewers. This is going to make for a really nice and complete meal. And then we can add those peppers in there for flavor. As Alma mentioned, we can have any kind of vegetable you like in there and add that extra flavor as well. You know, John, I want to thank you for your commitment to the Heart of New Ulm over the past year and the great changes that you've made. And we're definitely going to have you come back on because this looks like delicious food, so we're ready to eat, right? All right. Well, that's it for this week's episode of What's Cooking, New Ulm. We'll see you next week.